So you're thinking about going to Costa Rica this year?
Yes, we're looking at going in February. Haven't been there before. Part of the deal with my husband when I moved here was that we'd go someplace warm every winter, and so that's what we're looking at this year.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this morning I'm with Cyndi Harper. She's the manager of route planning for Metro Transit. We're in her home and we'll be talking about travel and a lot more. You're the manager of route planning for Metro Transit. What's your job like from day to day?
Very diverse mix of activities, which is one of the things I really like about it. It's not the same thing from day to day. And it's a mix of short-term, medium-term, and long-term projects. So some ways I work on something that, like perhaps looking at a route change that we're going to implement in a couple of months, or looking at some, restructuring. Hi, Wrigley.
Well, hey, Wrigley.
Restructuring of routes associated with perhaps a transitway project opening or a sector study that might not be for a couple of years, or looking at really long-term projects such as working with folks over in MTS on the transportation policy plan, which is not till 2040.
What sort of factors lead Metro Transit to consider adding a route, changing a route, eliminating a route?
Certainly budget is part of that, particularly if you're looking at adding a service, because generally, I say we are kind of a closed network where unless we have additional funding from a new source, if you're adding service in one area, you have to take those resources from somewhere else. Kinds of things that we look at are certainly land use and development patterns, especially as new things are coming online, travel patterns as those are changing, and just listening to where our customers are telling us that they would like to go. But also making sure that we have to balance our service. We can't serve everybody within the region with a 10-minute service, and so really trying to make sure that we're finding the balance between making sure we're getting service in the places where it is needed most and where it will be best utilized, but also providing the basic level of access throughout the region.
What's the most challenging thing about your job?
You want to try to make everybody happy, and you can't do that, obviously, but really trying to, get the service where people want it, when people want it, trying to figure out the conundrum of the person who lives, here I want a bus that stops right out front, and the person who lives next door doesn't want a bus at all, how you're going to make that work.
What got you interested in transit?
Transit was a big city thing, and I think I've always been just fascinated with big cities. From the time I grew up in central Illinois, and I loved going to Chicago or going to St. Louis. And transit, looking back, was just always kind of part of the allure, the L, all that kind of stuff. When you go to a game at Wrigley, taking the train or watching, TV or anything, get on the subway in New York, places like that, that just always seemed really cool.
Where'd you get the travel bug?
I've always liked to travel. I think, growing up, we went on vacation. My dad worked for Caterpillar, which is the main employer in central Illinois, and so they actually basically would shut down the assembly line, and that's when everybody went on vacation. So we'd get in the car and we'd go, places like Florida, we'd go to DC, just a lot of traveling. I had never traveled internationally before I met my husband, but that always really just kind of fascinated me, the idea that there's this whole other world that's out there that's different than what I know and what I've gotten used to. One of our favorite places to go, particularly in other countries, is just go in the grocery store, go in department stores, some of that kind of stuff, and just particularly grocery stores. If you're in, not so much Western Europe, but if you're in
Japan, for example,
or Bolivia, or someplace where English isn't the native language, just try to figure out what some of it is, and just even like if you go through and you look at things that aren't typical in the meat department here that are, or different fruits and vegetables that aren't grown here, that it's easier to import things from Africa or what have you. So
I understand you and Jeanne are sports fans.
I was raised on baseball and on Cubs baseball and Bradley basketball. I come from a split household. My mom's a Cub fan, my dad's a Cardinal fan. Growing up, I didn't ever meet a White Sox fan until I went to college because they don't exist south of Interstate 80. The American League was just a totally different, that's the league where the pitcher doesn't bat. No.
If you could be granted one wish about transit here in the metro area, what might it be?
Dedicated right-of-way in areas where the congestion is an issue so that we're not sitting in the same traffic that everybody else is. If I could just snap my fingers, it would be some sort of whether the bus could like hover above the traffic or something. That would be what I would wish for.
Cyndi, I've really enjoyed hearing about some of your travel adventures and the challenges of being a transit planner here in the region. It's been really great.
Great.
If you'd like to know more about the work of Metro Transit and the Metropolitan Council, visit our website at metrocouncil.org.